the whole grain deal is pretty much a nutritional scam, I think. I mean, grain is one of the most nutritionally poor foods that you can possibly eat, and yet it's recommended simply for some economic reason, because it's cheap to grow and produce grain and make foods out of them and sell it to people. It's much cheaper. You can feed a lot more people on grain in terms of how much calories it produces and how much you have to invest in terms of growing the grain and producing those products. But grain is like it isn't even really a food, because the only way you can eat grain is when you ground up the grain seeds in these mills and you turn it into products like bread and pasta. When you eat a raw grain seed, your body can't digest it. If you eat it like a raw grain seed from wheat, your body will just not be able to metabolize and digest it, because it never was designed to eat such foods anyway. And all these health challenges with my GI tract, they were simply due to eating these foods that our bodies were never designed to be eating in the first place. For billions of years, human beings never ate any grain. And these grains, turns out that these are disruptive to our GI tract, like I said. They're also disruptive to how our metabolism, how our bodies convert fats and glucose into energy within our cells. It's also nutritionally very poor. I don't know why people say it's healthy food. A lot of times you hear people talking about, oh, eat your bread because there's a lot of fiber in that. But if you start comparing the load of fiber in a piece of bread versus a set of vegetables, some fruits, or within nuts, you see that vegetables and nuts, they are much richer in fiber than our grains. Well, long story short, I ended up paying a lot of price in terms of my health, and also in other areas, like by eating in this way, this low fat, low protein, high carbohydrate, lots of grain. Also my muscle development really suffered simply because I was eating too little protein. I was getting all these inflammatory issues in my body simply because I was eating too much carbohydrates, which will all convert into sugar in your bloodstream rapidly, and which will add to your stress levels. And in turn you will develop more inflammation, because you first of all have this high stress of having these fluctuating blood glucose levels, and you also lack the fat in your diet to have the fats repair and restore your body, because fats are also important building blocks for your body to recover. Basically all those negative consequences just simply came down to because I delegated the responsibility for my own personal health to the societal system that was making a lot of recommendations in this area, rather than investigating the area of nutrition myself. That's just one area in which you can delegate the responsibility to the societal system for a certain area, but there of course are a lot more. The bottom line is that you get this huge payoff for delegating these responsibilities, because if you just delegate all this stuff to the system, then you don't have to think about something. It's much more easier. It's so much more easier to just say, oh, I have the system take care of that for me. I'll just do my share, work the job that I have expertise in, and if I do a good job at that, then I expect the system to also do a good job at taking good care of me and making sure my needs are met. And whenever my needs aren't met, and whenever I'm dissatisfied with something, I can just point at the system, start complaining and whining about wanting to get this fixed by someone else. Yeah, and in that sense, I just have that payoff of not having to investigate that area by myself, take personal responsibility, and basically just making it work. So that's ultimately what it comes down to, I think. To just see wherever you have complaints, challenges, or where your needs aren't met, where you have a dissatisfaction, and view those challenges as your own, and not expect the system or someone else to come and take care for it for you. You're just going to view those challenges as your own, take personal responsibility for it. You start experimenting, you start doing your research, and you start basically just trying anything that you can come up with in order to make that area of your life work. So what this implies is that I have to take on additional challenges if I want certain areas of my life to work. And people usually don't want to do that because life is already challenging enough as it is. And you can also see like why it's a core idea within this book to really bring down the stress levels and expand that capacity for challenge, so that you can manage to create a space for additional challenges to take on. So you can just take an honest look at where you're delegating the responsibility of certain areas of your life to the societal system or to someone else, and you can just observe like, oh, here are my delegating responsibility. Oh, but I now have that space available because I've brought down the stress levels, I've processed through a lot of past hurts, I dealt with certain addictions that were robbing me of energy, and now I have more space available to take on these challenges. Now I can take on those additional responsibilities, and I can investigate them, and I can work on them and improve my life in that way.